The 2025 Ontario Soccer Summit is right around the corner. And today we have a very special guest here to help us prepare for the big weekend. Welcome Mike Chu, a global leader in sport who will be making the Sunday morning keynote presentation at this year's event. Before we go any further, this conversation is brought to you by O'Neill's Sportswear, presenting partner of the 2025 Ontario Soccer Summit. Learn more at o'neills.com. Mike, thank you so much for joining us all the way from New Zealand. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. Uh, Really excited for the summit coming up in March. I'll be leaving a beautiful summer here in New Zealand, but very excited to get to Niagara and catch up with some old friends in Canada, actually, because I used to work for Rugby Canada for 4 years. So hopefully I'll be seeing some old friends in Canada.
When do you fly out for the event? Like right ahead of time, or are you coming early?
I'm going to spend a week in, so there's the Vancouver Sevens that's on.
Yeah,
So I'll be going to that the week prior to the conference, and then I come across for the conference, and then
amazing.
I head up to the UK to run a workshop up there.
Wow, oh, you're doing like a world tour.
I do a lot of travel. I think each year I do anywhere from 130 to 150 days on the road. So yeah, it's a lot of travel.
So, to get this started, would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself and maybe where your interest in high performance sports stems from?
Sure, thanks. Look, I've been working in high performance sport for over 3 decades now. I spent 16 years with New Zealand Rugby, another 4 years with Rugby Canada, and I'm currently with World Rugby as the lead education manager. Um, I've been always fascinated by elite sport and high performance sport. Always wanted to watch sport, play sport. So I feel very privileged working in rugby, particularly in a country like New Zealand, where rugby is the number one sport, and there's a lot of passion for rugby. And I guess it's a lot similar to hockey in Canada, where even if you may not play hockey, you probably follow hockey.
Yeah, I think most of us definitely do. Comparing it to hockey for us Canadians here, that definitely helps put things into perspective. Mike's keynote at the summit is titled Leadership and Legacy, the New Zealand All Blacks Way. Mike, without giving too much away from your keynote, can you tell us one thing that stands out to you about the All Blacks approach?
Gosh, there's a few things, but one of the things I'll be talking about is the culture. So they have a very, very strong culture, which drives a lot of the legacy and a lot of the performance. Um, there's a lot of tradition, a lot of history. It's 120 years of probably one of the most successful sports teams in sport history. So around about an 80% win record over 120 years. So sustained success. Um, yeah, so I'll be giving a little bit of an insight into what's created that success and how they've tried to sustain it over that period of time.
Very interesting. Well, I can't wait to hear more about that. I'm sure our audience will be just as intrigued as I am. Back to the leadership and legacy part of that title. That's actually the theme of this year's entire summit. So, what's one key piece of advice that you would give to leaders, soccer leaders here in Ontario, as they look to leave their own legacies?
Great question. Uh, I think the way in which you lead will drive the culture of the team, and it's something that New Zealand Rugby is really focused on is a shared or empowered leadership approach, where everyone in the team um, is a leader, and we sort of take the approach that you can never not lead. So everyone needs to take some responsibility, not just for themselves, but for the team as well, and for the legacy of the team.
And that actually leads us to the last question here. What's exciting you the most about coming to the Ontario Soccer Summit and sharing some of your expertise with leaders from a different sport?
Oh, look, I love learning. So I'm actually more excited to listen to your other keynotes and meet people and meet industry leaders and meet, great coaches and leaders in soccer, because I'm always on the lookout for good ideas. I guess I have a philosophy that we all stand on the shoulders of giants. So what I bring is not necessarily new or original, but it's my insights onto into high performance sport, and I'm really looking forward to learning more. Really,
Well, that's it for our summit related questions. But before we let you go, there's a little game that we want to play with you. Um,
sure.
We've titled it Rugby versus Soccer. So I
Okay,
have a list of questions here, and you have to pick rugby or soccer. Okay?
perfect.
So, who's tougher, rugby players or soccer players?
Let me think about that. I'm going to lean on rugby here, of
All right,
course.
that one makes sense. That makes sense. What's more stressful, coaching rugby or coaching soccer?
Gosh, I think coaching kids is probably quite stressful, particularly when they don't listen.
All right,
Coaching, coaching can be
coaching in
stressful.
general, always a challenge. Fair enough. Which sport has the most devoted fans?
Uh, maybe soccer. I see some of those soccer fans. They're a little cray cray.
They definitely can be. Yeah, there's a lot of passion.
Yeah.
What's harder to referee, rugby or soccer?
I think rugby. Rugby has a lot of rules, and a lot is open to interpretation. I think I think soccer would be far easier to referee.
Okay. Which is more intense, a Rugby World Cup final or a FIFA World Cup final?
Well, I've never been to a FIFA rugby,
That's
sorry, a FIFA tournament, but I can tell you, I have been to a few rugby World Cups, and they can be very stressful. So I can only imagine what a soccer World Cup would be like. I watched the 2011 World Cup final, which is here in New Zealand, and New Zealand won it 8-7 over France. And I think I watched the whole game like this. So yeah.
Which sport is more strategic on the field?
Oh gosh. Look, they're both strategic. It would be. I know there's a lot of strategy in football. There's a lot of different identities in rugby of scrum, line out, maul. Um, yeah, a lot of different tactics. Yeah, I'm going
Both.
to sit on the fence on that one.
We're almost at the end here, but which sport has the better uniforms?
Oh, I'd have to say probably soccer.
Okay.
They do some funny, they do some pretty cool things. Although for rugby, I love the All Blacks. It has been black for 120 years and hasn't changed.
And there's nothing I think more intimidating than a team dressed in all black making their way onto the field. There's definitely something about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. My last question, if you had to suit up right now and play a game of rugby or a game of soccer, which one are you picking?
Soccer, definitely soccer.
Why is that?
Oh gosh. Well, firstly, I've never played a game of rugby in my life.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so people may not know that, but I've worked
Yeah.
in rugby for 30 years. But definitely soccer, hopefully I wouldn't get as many injuries at my age as rugby.
That's
Too
fair.
many bruises.
Yeah, it's a lot of contact,
It's very
It's the
physical.
name of the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we end off today's call, is there anything else that you would want to say to our viewers as we approach the summit?
Look, I'm really excited about coming across. One, Niagara is a beautiful part of Canada, and two, I'm just really excited about meeting everyone. So yeah, I hope lots of people register, and I'm really looking forward to just being over there and seeing Johnny Misley again as well.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time to share your thoughts and your insights with us. We can't wait to hear more from you at the summit. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Can't wait.
Big thanks again to O'Neill Sportswear for making this conversation possible. To hear more from Mike, join us at the 2025 Ontario Soccer Summit. Tickets are on sale now at ontariosoccer.net/summit tickets. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you at the summit.